I'm Jessica Thompson, and 3 years ago, my parents made me homeless to pay for my sister's art school. They liquidated my college fund, sold our family home, and told me I was young enough to figure it out. What they didn't expect was that being thrown away would teach me what I was really worth. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. But let me back up. Growing up in Sacramento, I was the invisible kid. While my sister Riley painted masterpieces and won art competitions, I was busting tables at Denny's after my community college classes, saving every penny for a future that felt more like a fantasy than a plan. At 28, I was still grinding through minimum wage jobs, working 3 different positions just to contribute to the household bills while living in my childhood bedroom. That Tuesday started like any other. I clocked in at 5 a.m. at Brew and Bean, steaming lattes for commuters who barely glanced at me. My uniform was wrinkled from being stuffed in my bag between shifts at the department store and my evening delivery job. By noon, I was folding sweaters at Macy's, watching customers buy single items that cost more than my weekly paycheck. "Jessica, can you cover the evening shift too?" my manager asked. Sandra called in sick. I nodded, calculating rent money in my head. Always calculating. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Don't forget Riley's exhibition opening tonight. So proud of our little artist." The exclamation points felt like tiny daggers. When was the last time she'd used exclamation points about anything I'd done? I finished my shift and drove across town to Riley's gallery opening, still wearing my retail name tag. The art space buzzed with wine-sipping patrons and designer clothes, their voices echoing off exposed brick walls. Riley's paintings hung under perfect lighting, each piece tagged with prices that made my stomach clench. $2,400 for a canvas that took her a weekend to complete. I made $2,400 in 2 months. "Jessica, there's our Jessica," Mom's voice carried across the room. Linda Thompson, 54, had traded her nursing scrubs for a black cocktail dress I'd never seen before. She air-kissed my cheek, her eyes already scanning for someone more important to talk to. Riley glowed in the center of it all, her auburn hair flowing over a vintage dress that probably cost more than my car payment. At 23, she commanded the room with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no or "we can't afford it." "Jess, you made it!" Riley hugged me, genuinely happy, but oblivious to my uniform, my exhaustion, my everything. "Look, Mrs. Patterson bought 3 pieces. 3! I smiled and nodded, watching Dad work the room. Robert Thompson had perfected the art of proud father, his chest puffed as he guided potential buyers from painting to painting. "Riley's been creating since she was 4, he told a couple examining a landscape. "We always knew she was special." Special. The word followed me around that room like smoke. "Jessica works so hard," I heard Mom tell someone, her voice carrying that particular tone reserved for discussing my practical life. 3 jobs, so responsible. Responsible. Not talented, not special, responsible. I slipped outside for air, checking my phone for my delivery app. 4 orders waiting. I could make $50 if I left now. "Hey, stranger." Mia Rodriguez appeared beside me, her dark curls catching the gallery's warm light. My best friend since community college. She'd driven down from San Francisco for the opening. She knew exhaustion, and she knew something deeper was eating at me. "Your parents been talking about Riley's tuition again?" I nodded. We'd had this conversation before. Riley's final year at the San Francisco Academy of Arts cost $80,000. $80,000 for 12 months of painting classes while I worked 3 jobs to afford community college textbooks. "It's fine," I said automatically. "It's not fine, Jess. None of this is fine." Back inside, the opening was winding down. Riley counted checks and cash with Mom, while Dad packed up unsold pieces. I overheard fragments. "Almost covered the semester. If we can get a few more sales." The house equity could... The house equity. My chest tightened. Later that night, after Riley's friends had taken her out to celebrate, I found myself alone in the kitchen with Dad. He sat at the table, papers spread in front of him, calculator in hand. "Dad? Everything okay?" He looked up, startled. "Just numbers, sweetheart. Always numbers." I glimpsed bank statements, loan applications, documents with our house address listed as collateral. My throat went dry. "Dad, what are those papers?" He quickly shuffled them together. "Just some financial planning, nothing for you to worry about." But I was worrying. As I lay in my twin bed that night, staring at glow-in-the-dark stars Riley had stuck on our shared ceiling when we were kids, a cold dread settled in my stomach. Those weren't planning documents. Those were desperation documents. My phone lit up with a text from Mia. "You okay? You seemed off tonight." I stared at the message, thumb hovering over the keyboard. How do you tell your best friend that you're starting to suspect your parents are about to sacrifice your entire future for your sister's dreams? "Just tired," I typed back. But sleep wouldn't come. Outside my window, Sacramento sprawled in all directions, full of people living their lives, making their choices, building their futures. I wondered how many of them had ever felt invisible in their own homes, working themselves to exhaustion while watching someone else live their dreams on their dime. Tomorrow, I'd wake up at 4:30 a.m., make coffee for strangers, fold clothes for customers, deliver food to families that could afford convenience. And Riley would sleep until noon and then paint something beautiful that would sell for more than I'd make in months. The golden child never sees the shadow she casts. But shadows, I was learning, can hide a lot of strength. 3 days after Riley's exhibition, I found the papers Dad forgot to hide. I'd gotten home from my morning shift at Brew and Bean, exhausted from the pre-dawn rush. The house was quiet. Mom at work, Dad running errands, Riley probably still asleep after another late night with her art school friends. I grabbed a glass of water and headed to Dad's home office to borrow his printer for a job application. That's when I saw them, scattered across his desk like evidence of a crime. Bank statements, loan documents, and a folder labeled Jessica College Fund. My hands shook as I opened it. The account I'd been contributing to since I was 16, the one Dad always said was growing nicely for your future. It was empty. Zero balance as of last month. Next to it, a transfer receipt. $23,000 moved to Thompson Family Education Account, Riley's tuition account. I sat down hard in Dad's chair, the room spinning. $23,000, every birthday gift from grandparents, every tax refund, every dollar I'd contributed from my part-time jobs throughout high school and community college. Gone. But it got worse. The loan documents showed our house, the house I'd grown up in, the house Dad always said would stay in the family, listed as collateral for a $150,000 home equity loan. Guess where that money went? Riley Thompson, San Francisco Academy of Arts, final year tuition and living expenses. My chest felt like it was caving in. I grabbed another document, this one from a real estate agent. "Congratulations on your decision to sell. Based on current market conditions, we estimate your home value at $485,000. They were selling the house. They were selling our house to pay for Riley's art school. I heard Dad's truck in the driveway and quickly photographed the documents with my phone before shuffling everything back into place. My legs felt unsteady as I walked to the kitchen, trying to look normal when he came through the door. "Hey, sweetheart," Dad said, carrying grocery bags. "You're home early?" Slow morning at the coffee shop. My voice sounded strange in my ears. "Dad, can we talk?" He set down the groceries, and I saw him glance toward his office. "Sure, what's up?" "I need to know about my college fund." The color drained from his face. He opened his mouth, closed it, then sank into a kitchen chair like I punched him. "Jessica, I can explain. You liquidated it. The words came out flat, emotionless. $23,000 for Riley's tuition. Dad's shoulders sagged. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Because it looks like you stole my future to pay for hers. We didn't steal anything, Mom's voice cut through the air. I hadn't heard her come in. Linda Thompson stood in the doorway, still in her scrubs from the hospital, her face flushed with anger and something else, guilt. That money was always meant for education, she continued, moving to stand beside Dad. And Riley's education costs more right now. You're young, Jessica. You have time to rebuild. I stared at her. Time to rebuild? Mom, I've been contributing to that account for 12 years. And we appreciate that, Dad said quietly. But Riley's opportunity at the academy is once in a lifetime. Her professors say she's...
Telling and preparing this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. What about the house? I asked. Mom and Dad exchanged glances. Dad cleared his throat. We're making some changes. You're selling it. I saw the paperwork. Mom sat down across from me, her nurse's training kicking in as she switched to her difficult, patient voice. Jessica, we need you to understand. This is about investing in the family's future. Riley's career will benefit all of us eventually. How exactly does her career benefit me when I'm homeless? You won't be homeless, Dad protested. We found a nice apartment. We? I stood up, the chair scraping against the floor. We? Nothing. I saw the real estate documents, Dad. This house sells in 2 weeks. Where exactly am I supposed to go? The silence stretched between us like a chasm. Finally, Mom spoke. You're 28, Jessica. Most people your age don't live with their parents anyway. This is just encouragement to spread your wings. I laughed, a bitter sound that surprised even me. Encouragement? You call stealing my college fund and making me homeless encouragement? We didn't steal, Mom began. Yes, you did. The words came out stronger now, fueled by years of swallowed resentment. You stole my money, you selling my home, and you're acting like I should thank you for it. The front door slammed, and Riley walked in, paint still under her fingernails from her morning class. She took in her faces, Dad's guilt, Mom's defiance, my fury. What's going on? She asked. Your parents just informed me I have 2 weeks to find somewhere to live because they sold the house to pay for your school, I said. Riley's face went pale. What? They liquidated my college fund too. $23,000. Gone. Riley looked at Mom and Dad in shock. Is that true? Mom's voice got defensive. Riley, this is complicated. Did you take Jessica's college money to pay for my tuition? Riley's voice was small. Dad nodded miserably. We had to make a choice. Riley sank onto the couch, her hands covering her face. For a moment, I thought she might actually stand up for me. Then she looked up, tears in her eyes, but her words shattered my last hope. I didn't know, she whispered, but I can't quit now. I'm so close to graduating. Maybe, Jessica, you could get student loans? For later? Later. Always later for Jessica. I looked around the kitchen where I'd eaten breakfast every morning for 20 years, at the refrigerator covered in Riley's art awards and my forgotten honor roll certificates, at the parents who just told me I was disposable. I need to make some phone calls, I said, walking toward my room. Jessica, wait, Mom called. We can work this out. We're family. I stopped at the doorway and turned back. No, Mom. Family doesn't throw each other away. Family doesn't steal from each other to play favorites. What you just did? That's not family. That's betrayal. In my room, I called Mia with shaking hands. Jess, what's wrong? Can I stay with you for a while? The words felt foreign in my mouth. My parents just made me homeless. Silence on the other end. Then, pack your bags. I'm coming to get you. As I waited for Mia, I looked around my childhood bedroom one last time. The walls were covered with ribbons from academic competitions no one had ever celebrated, certificates of achievement no one had ever hung up, evidence of a life that mattered to no one but me. Riley knocked on my doorframe. Jess? I didn't look up from packing. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I didn't know about the college fund. But you're not giving up your spot at the academy. Silence. I didn't think so, I said, zipping my suitcase. Don't worry, Riley. You'll always be the golden child. I just won't be around to pay for it anymore. When Mia arrived, I walked out of my childhood home carrying 2 suitcases and a backpack, everything I owned in the world. I didn't say goodbye to my parents. I didn't hug Riley. I was 28 years old, homeless, and alone. But for the first time in my life, I was also free from the weight of their expectations and the sting of their indifference. As Mia's car pulled away, I didn't look back. There was nothing behind me worth seeing. Mia's studio apartment in San Francisco was 480 square feet of organized chaos. Monitors lined one wall, coding books stacked everywhere, and a pull-out couch that would become my bed for the foreseeable future. When she opened the door that first night, I collapsed into her arms and cried until I couldn't breathe. They really did it, I kept repeating. They really threw me away. Mia held me on that tiny couch, letting me fall apart completely. At 27, she understood abandonment in ways most people couldn't. The foster care system had bounced her between families until she aged out at 18. She'd built her life from nothing, taught herself to code through free online courses, and clawed her way into a junior developer position at a tech startup. Listen to me, she said when my sobs finally subsided. This is going to sound insane right now, but what your parents did might be the best thing that ever happened to you. I stared at her like she'd lost her mind. I'm serious, Jess. You've been subsidizing their favoritism for 10 years, working 3 jobs to contribute to a household budget, and while they spent your college fund on Riley? That's not normal. That's not love. That's exploitation. The word hit like cold water. Exploitation. They made you complicit in your own marginalization. And now you're free to build something that's actually yours. The first week was brutal. I slept on Mia's air mattress, stuffed my belongings into her tiny closet, and tried to figure out how to adult without a safety net. My parents called twice. I didn't answer. Riley texted constantly. Jess, please call me back. Mom is crying all the time. Can we talk? I know you hate me, but I need my sister. I deleted each message without responding. My routine became mechanical. Wake up at 4:30 a.m., work the opening shift at Brew & Bean, rush to my afternoon retail shift, then spend evenings delivering food until midnight. I'd collapse onto Mia's air mattress around 11 a.m., set my alarm, and do it again. You're killing yourself, Mia said one night, watching me count tips on her coffee table. What's your end game here? Survival, I said. First month's rent, last month's rent, security deposit. I need about $4,000 to get my own place. That's not an end game. That's just existing. She was right, but existing felt like an accomplishment when 3 weeks ago I'd been made homeless by my own family. Look, Mia said, pulling her laptop over. I've been thinking, you're naturally good with systems, right? You organized inventory at 3 different jobs. You can troubleshoot any problem. You understand how things work. I guess, she shrugged. That's coding, Jess. Problem solving with logical steps. Let me show you something. She opened a coding tutorial website. Just try the first lesson. 20 minutes. I was exhausted. My feet hurt from standing all day, and I had to be up in 4 hours. But Mia had given me a place to sleep when my own parents wouldn't. I owed her 20 minutes. The tutorial was about HTML basics, creating web pages with simple commands. After 10 minutes, something clicked. The logical structure, the way each command had a specific purpose, the satisfaction of seeing immediate results. It felt like solving puzzles. This is actually kind of cool, I admitted. Mia grinned. I knew it! Tomorrow I'll show you CSS, then JavaScript, then we'll build you a future. Over the next 2 weeks, a routine developed. Work, tutorials, sleep, repeat. Mia would quiz me during breakfast, send me coding challenges during my lunch breaks, and review my progress each night. I absorbed it like I was dying of thirst. You're a natural, she said one evening, watching me build a simple calculator app. Seriously, Jess, I've seen people struggle with this stuff for months. You got it in 2 weeks. That's when my phone rang. Mom. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Jessica, thank God. We need to talk. About what? About coming home. This has gone on long enough.
Riley's been miserable, your father feels terrible, and I miss you. The words should have felt good. Instead, they felt like manipulation. The house sold, I said. It wasn't a question. Silence. Then, yes, but we found a lovely 2-bedroom apartment. There's space for you. Where? Well, the second bedroom is Riley's art studio, but there's a very comfortable couch. I hung up. Mia looked over from her computer. Let me guess. They want you back now that they need help with moving expenses? My phone buzzed with a text from Riley. Jess, I know you're mad, but we need you. Mom's having panic attacks and Dad won't talk to anyone. I can't handle this alone. I showed Mia the text. She read it and snorted. Classic! Crisis hits and suddenly they remember you exist. She sounds scared, I said. She's manipulating you, just like your mom taught you. Mia set down her laptop and turned to face me. Jess, can I tell you something about family dysfunction? I nodded. The scapegoat always gets called back when the system starts falling apart. You were the family's pressure release valve. You absorbed all their problems, worked to solve their financial issues, and never complained. Now that you're gone, all that dysfunction has nowhere to go, so they're panicking. But what if they really have changed? Have they apologized for stealing your college fund? No. Have they offered to pay it back? No. Have they acknowledged that what they did was wrong? I thought about Mom's call. No. Mom said I was being stubborn and that this has gone on long enough. Then they haven't changed. They just want their safety valve back. That night, I lay on the air mattress staring at Mia's ceiling. 3 weeks ago, I thought my parents approved.
The space was tiny, just a studio with a kitchenette and a bathroom I could touch both walls of simultaneously. But after sleeping on Mia's air mattress for 2 months, it felt like a palace. I quit my retail job to focus on coding while keeping my morning coffee shift and evening deliveries. My new routine? Work, code, sleep, repeat. Mia had become my unofficial mentor, assigning me increasingly complex projects. Build an inventory management system for a restaurant, she'd say. Then make it mobile responsive. Then add user authentication. I was obsessed. Code made sense in ways my family never had. Every problem had a logical solution. Every function had a clear purpose. There was no favoritism in programming. Either your code worked or it didn't. 3 months in, I'd built my first real application, a scheduling optimizer for gig workers. Having juggled multiple jobs myself, I understood the pain points. The app helped users maximize earnings by identifying peak hours across different platforms and optimizing routes for delivery drivers. This is actually brilliant, Mia said, testing the prototype. You've solved something real. That's when Riley called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Jess, please don't hang up. Her voice sounded different, smaller. I'm listening. I graduated. She paused. No job offers, and my student loan payments start next month. $1,200. I said nothing. Mom and Dad they're struggling too. The apartment is expensive, and Dad got laid off last week. They keep asking when you're coming home. This is my home now. A garage? Jessica, come on. We're family. Family doesn't steal from each other, Riley. Silence stretched between us. Finally, she spoke. I know you hate me, but I never asked them to take your money. But you took it anyway. I was 23 and stupid. I thought... Her voice cracked. I thought there would always be enough for everyone. I didn't realize they were choosing me over you. It was the first time she'd acknowledged the choice. The first time anyone in my family had admitted what really happened. I can't fix this for you, Riley. I'm not asking you to. I miss my sister, and I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. After we hung up, I sat in my tiny space staring at my laptop screen. My scheduling app glowed back at me, representing hundreds of hours of work, learning, and growth. 6 months ago, I couldn't have imagined building something like this. Now I was dreaming of features, improvements, maybe even launching it publicly. Mr. Peterson knocked on my door that evening. "Got a minute?" he asked, holding 2 cups of coffee. We sat on my small step, watching the sunset paint the mission's rooftops gold. "Been watching you," he said. "Up early, home late, always carrying that computer bag." "Just trying to build something better," I said. He nodded. "My wife used to say that. Build something better, Stan. She died 2 years ago." He sipped his coffee. "What are you building?" I told him about the app, about learning to code, and about my plan to help other gig workers optimize their earnings. "How much money would you need to make this real, not just a hobby?" I'd been researching this. Maybe 15,000 for proper development, testing, legal stuff to launch a company. Mr. Peterson was quiet for a long time. Then, "I'll lend you $20,000. Fair interest rate, structured payments." I stared at him. "Mr. Peterson, you barely know me. I know you work harder than anyone I've met in years. I know you pay rent early every month. And I know you're building something instead of just complaining about your problems." He stood, brushing off his pants. "Think about it, but not too long. Good ideas don't wait." That night, I called Mia. "He offered you what?" she shrieked. $20,000 to turn the app into a real business. "Jess, this is it. This is your moment." My hands were shaking. "What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if you succeed? What if you build something amazing? What if you prove that being thrown away was the best thing that ever happened to you?" I looked around my tiny garage apartment, my first independent space, my sanctuary, my proof that I could survive without my family's conditional love. "Okay," I said, "let's build something better." Mia dragged me to my first tech networking event, kicking and screaming. "I don't belong there," I protested, staring at my reflection in her bathroom mirror. "These are real developers with computer science degrees. I learned JavaScript from YouTube videos." "So did half of them," Mia said, adjusting my blazer. "Imposter syndrome is just fear wearing a fancy name. You belong anywhere your skills can help people." The event was at a sleek co-working space in Soma, filled with startup founders, investors, and developers who all seemed to speak a language I was still learning. I clutched my laptop bag and tried to look like I belonged. Then I saw the demo station. "Show us what you're working on," read the banner. A dozen developers were lined up, each getting 5 minutes to present their projects to a panel of judges. "Absolutely not," I whispered to Mia. "Absolutely yes," she whispered back, pushing me towards the sign-up sheet. Before I knew it, I was third in line, my heart hammering against my ribs. The first presenter showed a social media app for pet owners. The second demonstrated a blockchain solution I didn't understand. Then they called my name. "Hi, I'm Jessica Thompson. I built a scheduling optimization app for gig workers." I pulled up my prototype, hands shaking as I navigated through the interface. The average gig worker juggles multiple platforms: food delivery, rideshare, freelance work. My app analyzes peak hours, surge pricing, and optimal routes to maximize hourly earnings. "What's your background?" asked one of the judges. I worked 3 gig jobs myself. Community college graduate, self-taught coding. The room felt silent. I was certain I'd embarrassed myself. "This is exactly what the market needs," said a woman from the panel. "Real solutions built by people who understand real problems." After the demo, she approached me. Sarah Kim, 34, founder and CEO of Nexus Development, a company I'd actually heard of. "Walk with me," she said. We stepped onto the co-working space's rooftop terrace, the San Francisco skyline glittering below us. I built my first company from my kitchen table after getting laid off from Oracle. Know what my advantage was?
I was desperate. Desperation breeds innovation in ways comfort never can. I told her about my family situation, my transition from 3 jobs to coding, my tiny garage apartment. Perfect origin story, she said. Every successful entrepreneur needs one moment when the universe forces them to bet on themselves. Sounds like yours already happened. She handed me her business card. I'm offering you a junior developer position. 45,000 base plus equity. You'll work on client projects, but I want you to keep developing your gig app on nights and weekends. When you're ready to launch it, I'll be your first investor. I stared at the card, not quite believing this was real. Sarah, I don't have a computer science degree. I've been coding for 6 months. Degrees don't write code. People do. And your demo showed me you understand something most developers don't: how to build for users who actually need what you're creating. She smiled. Besides, I've been watching the gig economy explode. Someone's going to build the definitive platform for optimizing that work. Why not the person who's actually lived it? That night, I called my parents for the first time in 4 months. Jessica! Mom's voice was breathless with relief. Oh, honey, we've missed you so much. When are you coming home? I'm not. I called to tell you I got a job. A real job. As a software developer. Silence. That's wonderful, sweetheart, Dad said, though he sounded confused. But you studied business at community college. I taught myself programming, and I built an app that might become a company. An app? Mom's voice carried that familiar tone, polite interest masking complete bewilderment. That's nice, honey, but when you're ready to settle down with something stable... This is stable, Mom. Sarah Kim offered me $45,000 a year to develop software. More silence. Well, Mom finally said, we always knew you were resourceful. Your father and I always said. No, you didn't. You said I was practical. You said I'd figure something out. You never said I was capable of building something like this. Jessica, we're proud of you, Dad said quietly. Are you? Or are you just relieved that I'm not your problem anymore? I hung up before they could answer. Mia found me crying on...
So you're the one who built the gig worker app, Alex said during our first meeting. His smile was warm, genuine. I've been following its beta launch. Brilliant solution. Most people led with small talk. Alex led with acknowledging my work. I liked him immediately. Thanks. It's been interesting seeing how people actually use it versus how I imagined they would. That's the mark of a real entrepreneur. Building something, launching it, then adapting based on user behavior. He leaned forward, interested. What surprised you most? We talked for 2 hours about user experience, market fit, and the challenges of building for people who are often overlooked by traditional tech. Alex didn't just listen. He asked follow-up questions that showed he understood both the technical and human elements of what I was building. Would you like to grab coffee sometime? He asked as we wrapped up. Not for work. I'd love to hear more about your journey into tech. I hesitated. Dating hadn't been on my radar since leaving my parents' house. Survival first, everything else later. I promise I'm not a serial killer, Alex said, grinning. References available upon request. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became long walks through Golden Gate Park. Alex came from a supportive family, parents who'd encouraged his business degree, siblings who celebrated his successes without keeping score. At first, his healthy family dynamics felt alien. My parents still argue about who gets credit for my first entrepreneurship award, he told me over Thai food one evening. Mom claims it's her business sense. Dad insists it's his work ethic. They're both probably right. I tried to imagine my parents fighting over credit for my success rather than expecting me to credit them with my resilience. What's your family like? Alex asked. I gave him the abbreviated version. Parents who'd liquidated my college fund, made me homeless, still didn't understand why I was hurt about it. Jesus, Jess. I'm sorry. Don't be. It led me here. Doesn't make it less shitty. He reached across the table and took my hand. For what it's worth, I think you're incredible. Not despite what happened. Just incredible, period. Meanwhile, my app was gaining traction. 20,000 active users, featured in TechCrunch, an increase from potential investors. Sarah kept pushing me to think bigger. You're solving a real problem for millions of people, she said during one of our weekly check-ins. This could be huge, Jess. Like, life-changing huge. That's when Riley called again. Jess, I got a job. Finally. That's great, Riley. I meant it. Graphic design at an advertising agency. It's not fine art, but it pays the bills. And I wanted to thank you. For what? For not coming back. For not bailing us out. Her voice was steady now, mature in a way I'd never heard before. When you disappeared, I had to figure out how to be an adult, how to pay my own bills, how to fail at things and try again. I never learned that before because someone was always catching me. It was the most self-aware thing Riley had ever said to me. I'm proud of you, I said, surprised by how much I meant it. I saw the article about your app in TechCrunch. Mom showed everyone at the hospital. She printed it out and put it on the fridge. She did? She's been telling people her daughter is a tech entrepreneur. I think she's finally starting to understand what you built. After we hung up, Alex found me on my couch staring at my laptop screen. Good call or bad call? Confusing call. My sister got a job, and apparently my mom is bragging about my success to her coworkers. Alex sat beside me. How do you feel about that? Honestly, angry. Where was that pride when I needed it? Where was that support when I was sleeping on floors and working 3 jobs? Probably buried under guilt and cognitive dissonance, Alex said gently. People rewrite history to make themselves feel better about their choices. So I'm supposed to just forgive and forget? You're supposed to do whatever feels right for you, but maybe consider that their recognition of your success doesn't diminish what you accomplished. You did this despite them, not because of them. That weekend, Sarah called with news that would change everything. Venture firm wants to meet with you. They're interested in leading a Series A round for your app. We're talking $5 million, Jess. $5 million. I thought about my tiny garage apartment, my secondhand furniture, the months of sleeping on Mia's air mattress. What does that mean for me? It means you're about to become a millionaire, assuming you don't screw up the pitch. I laughed, a sound somewhere between hysteria and disbelief. Sarah, 18 months ago, I was making lattes and folding sweaters. Now you're telling me I might be a millionaire? You're telling me that building something people actually need tends to pay off. Congratulations, Jess. You've earned every bit of this. That night, Alex and I walked along the Embarcadero, San Francisco's lights reflecting off the bay. Scared? He asked. Terrified. What if I'm not ready for this? What if you are? I stopped walking and looked at him. Alex, can I ask you something? Anything. Do you think success obligates you to help people who hurt you? He considered this. I think success gives you the power to choose how you engage with people who hurt you, but it doesn't obligate you to anything except being true to yourself. My parents are going to want back in my life now. Probably, but you get to decide what that looks like. Standing there by the bay, watching million-dollar boats drift past, I realized Alex was right. For the first time in my life, I had real power, not just financial, but the power of choice. My family had thrown me away when I was inconvenient. Now I got to decide if they'd earned their way back. The venture capital pitch went better than I dared hope. $5 million, Series A funding, announced David Chen, managing partner at Summit Ventures. We believe Optimize Gig has the potential to revolutionize the gig economy. I sat in that glass conference room overlooking downtown San Francisco, trying to process that my little scheduling app, born of desperation in a garage apartment, was now worth millions. The term sheet outlined everything: company valuation at $20 million, my majority ownership stake intact, and enough runway to hire a full team. There's one condition, David continued. We want you to quit your day job and focus on this full-time. No more consulting work, no safety nuts.
all in. My stomach flipped. Leaving Nexus meant leaving Sarah, my mentor, my first real champion in tech. It meant giving up a steady paycheck for the terrifying uncertainty of startup life. "When do you need an answer?" I asked. "End of the week." That night, I called an emergency dinner with my chosen family, Mia, Sarah, and Alex. "This is what we've been working toward," Mia said, practically vibrating with excitement. "Jess, you could hire me as your CTO. We could build this thing together." Sarah nodded. "I've been waiting for this conversation. I'm offering to be your advisor and angel investor. Small stake, but I want skin in the game." "What about Nexus?" "Nexus will survive, but this is your shot at building something that matters. Don't let fear talk you out of it." Alex squeezed my hand. "Whatever you decide, I'm with you." I looked around the table at these people who'd chosen to believe in me when my own family couldn't. "Okay, let's do this." The next morning, I called David Chen. "I accept." Then I called my parents. "Jessica!" Mom's voice was bright, almost manic. "We've been reading about your app in the news. A $5 million investment? Your father and I are so proud." "Are you?" "Of course. We always knew you'd do something special." The revisionist history hit me like a slap. "Mom, you liquidated my college fund 18 months ago and told me I was young enough to figure it out." Uncomfortable silence. "Well, yes, but..." "No buts. You made a choice. You chose Riley's art school over my future, and when I was homeless, you told me it was encouragement to spread my wings." "Jessica, we were doing what we thought was best for Riley. You were doing what was best for Riley." I took a breath. "I'm calling to tell you that I'm now the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. I built this from nothing, while sleeping on friends' couches with zero support from my family." Dad's voice joined the call. "Sweetheart, we're so proud of what you've accomplished." "Don't call me sweetheart. You gave up that right when you chose your favorite daughter over your responsible one." "That's not fair," Mom protested. "We love you both equally." "Love doesn't liquidate college funds, Mom. Love doesn't sell the family home and make your child homeless. What you did was abandon me, financially and emotionally, then act surprised when I survived without you." I heard Mom crying in the background. "Jessica," Dad said quietly, "what can we do to fix this?" "Nothing. There's nothing you can do. I'm not calling for reconciliation. I'm calling to tell you that your throwaway daughter just became more successful than you ever imagined possible." I paused. "And I did it by becoming everything you said I wasn't: creative, innovative, valuable." After I hung up, I sat in my garage apartment one last time. Tomorrow, I'd move to a real office, hire employees, and build something that could help millions of people optimize their work lives. Mr. Peterson knocked on my door with 2 cups of coffee, our evening ritual. "Heard through the walls," he said with a grin. "Congratulations, boss lady." "I'm going to miss this place." "No, you won't. You're going to miss the version of yourself who needed this place. But she did her job. She kept you alive long enough to become who you're supposed to be." He was right. The scared, abandoned 28-year-old who'd moved into this garage was gone. In her place stood Jessica Thompson, CEO, tech entrepreneur, and living proof that being undervalued. As I packed my belongings, I found the printed emails from my parents during those first homeless weeks. Guilt trips about family loyalty, demands that I be reasonable, lectures about Riley's fragile artistic temperament. I deleted them all. Some bridges are meant to be burned. Forbes called on a Tuesday morning. "Miss Thompson, we'd like to feature you in our 30 Under 30 issue. Your story is exactly what our readers need to hear." I was standing in Optimize Gig's new office, 3,000 square feet in Soma, with exposed brick, standing desks, and a view of the Bay Bridge. 12 employees bustled around me, building the platform that now served over 200,000 gig workers nationwide. "I'm 29, I said. "Barely qualify." The journalist laughed. "Trust me, your timing is perfect. From homeless to millionaire in 18 months. That's the American dream with a tech twist." The feature article hit newsstands 2 weeks later.
The throwaway daughter who built a gig economy empire, read the headline, alongside a photo of me at my desk, confident and smiling. My phone exploded. LinkedIn messages from distant relatives I hadn't heard from in years. So proud of our Jessica. Text messages from high school acquaintances. Remember me? We should catch up. Even my elementary school teacher reached out. I always knew you were special. But the call that mattered came from an unknown Sacramento number. Jessica, it's your father. I almost hung up. Almost. Dad. We saw the article. Your mother has it framed on the kitchen counter. His voice was shaky. Jessica, I need to tell you something. I waited. I was wrong. We were wrong. What we did to you? He stopped, and I heard him crying. We stole your future to pay for your sister's present, and when you called us out on it, we made you the villain. It was the first real acknowledgement I'd ever heard from him. We lost our house anyway, he continued. Riley couldn't find work after graduation, racked up more debt, and we couldn't make the payments. Lost everything 6 months ago. I felt a complex mix of vindication and sadness. Where are you living? A 1-bedroom apartment in Roseville. Your mother's working double shifts to cover rent. Riley's finally got steady work, but she's paying off her loans. And now you want what? Money? Help? No, his voice was firm. I'm calling to apologize, to tell you that you were right to cut us off, to say that reading about your success, reading about how you built this company from nothing while we left you with nothing, it made me realize what we threw away. I walked to my office window, looking out at the San Francisco skyline. 2 years ago, I couldn't afford the bus fare to get here. Now I owned a company worth $50 million. I appreciate the apology, Dad. Jessica, your mother's been having panic attacks since the article came out. She keeps saying she threw away the wrong daughter. The words hit harder than I expected. There was no wrong daughter to throw away. You should have supported both of us. You're right. We should have. After we hung up, I sat in my CEO chair, staring at the Forbes magazine on my desk. On the cover, I looked powerful, successful, untouchable. Inside, I felt like that scared 28-year-old who'd packed her life into 2 suitcases. Alex found me there an hour later. Rough day, he sat on the edge of my desk, concern in his eyes. My dad called. They lost everything. Mom's having panic attacks. Riley's finally working but drowning in debt. How do you feel about that? Honest, part of me feels vindicated. They chose to invest in the wrong future, and it backfired spectacularly. I looked up at him, but part of me feels guilty for feeling vindicated. Guilt is just love with nowhere to go, Alex said gently. You can feel bad for their situation without being responsible for fixing it. That evening, Mia, Sarah, Alex, and I celebrated Optimize Gig's latest milestone, 500,000 active users, at a rooftop restaurant in Nob Hill. As we toasted with champagne that cost more than my old monthly rent, I thought about the journey that brought us here. Speech, Mia demanded, raising her glass. I stood, looking at the faces of people who'd chosen to build something with me rather than just extract value from me. 2 years ago, my family taught me that I was disposable, that my dreams were less important than someone else's, that being practical meant accepting less. I raised my glass. Thank you for teaching me they were wrong. Thank you for showing me that being undervalued by some people just means you haven't found your people yet. As we clinked glasses against the glittering backdrop of San Francisco, I realized something profound. Success hadn't healed the wound my family created, but it had given me the power to choose who got to be part of my life going forward. The throwaway daughter had built herself a throne. Now I had to decide who deserved to sit at the table. The call came at 2 a.m. on a Wednesday. Jessica? It's Riley. Her voice was shaky, panicked. Mom's in the hospital. She had a heart attack. I sat up in bed, instantly awake.
Alex stirred beside me, concern creasing his features even in the darkness. Is she okay? I asked. She's stable, but Riley's voice cracked. Jess, the doctors say it was brought on by stress, high blood pressure, anxiety, financial pressure. She keeps asking for you. I closed my eyes. Despite everything, the thought of losing my mother hit me like a physical blow. Which hospital? Sutter General in Sacramento, room 314. I hung up and turned to Alex. I have to go. I'll drive you. The 3-hour drive from San Francisco to Sacramento felt endless. Alex held my hand while I wrestled with 18 months of anger, hurt, and the complicated love that never fully dies, even when it should. You don't owe them anything, he said softly as we pulled into the parking lot. I know, but I need to see her. Linda Thompson looked small in the hospital bed, connected to monitors that beeped steadily. At 54, she'd aged years in the months since I'd seen her. Gray streaked her brown hair, and her face carried new lines of worry and exhaustion. Jessica? Her eyes opened as I approached. You came. I came. Dad sat in a chair beside her bed, looking older than his 56 years. Riley stood near the window, her art school confidence replaced by the worried expression of someone facing real adult consequences. The doctors say she needs to reduce stress, work less, worry less, but we can't afford for her to work less. I looked around the room at my broken family. How much debt are you carrying? Riley answered. Between Mom's medical bills, my student loans, and the credit cards they used to keep the house, she swallowed hard. About $200,000? The number hung in the air between us. $200,000, more than my family had ever seen, but less than I now make in a quarter. Jessica, Mom said weakly, I know we have no right to ask. You don't. You have no right to ask me for anything. Silence filled the room, except for the steady beep of monitoring equipment. But, I continued, I'm going to help anyway, on my conditions. Hope flickered in their eyes. Family therapy, all of us, for at least a year, non-negotiable. I looked at each of them. You need to understand what you did to me, and I need to understand if this family is salvageable. Dad nodded immediately. Mom and Riley looked uncertain. Second condition. Riley, you pay your own loans. I'll cover the medical debt and credit cards, but your education was your choice. Own it. Riley's face flushed, but she nodded. Fair? Third, this doesn't erase what happened. This doesn't make us close automatically. This is me choosing to help people who hurt me deeply because I can afford it, and because letting my mom die from stress-related heart problems would make me the villain in this story. Jessica, Mom said,
I'm not finished. Fourth condition. You stop telling people you always supported me. You stop rewriting history to make yourselves feel better. What you did was wrong, and if we're going to move forward, you need to own that publicly. The room was silent except for the machines keeping Mom alive. Do you accept these conditions? Dad spoke first. Yes, all of them. Riley nodded. I accept. Mom looked at me with tears in her eyes. I accept. And Jessica, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but the beginning of possibility. I'll have my lawyer draft an agreement. The money will come with structured payments and accountability measures. I stood to leave. And Mom, get well. Despite everything, I don't want to lose you. In the hospital parking lot, Alex wrapped his arms around me as I finally let myself cry. That was the hardest thing I've ever done. I sobbed into his chest. You just saved your family while protecting yourself. That takes incredible strength. I'm not sure I forgive them yet. You don't have to, but you gave yourself the chance to find out if forgiveness is possible. Driving back to San Francisco, I thought about the girl who'd packed her life into 2 suitcases 18 months ago. She'd been abandoned, betrayed, and left to figure out survival alone. Now she was choosing to extend grace from a position of power rather than desperation. It felt like the final evolution, from victim to survivor to someone strong enough to help the people who'd hurt her without losing herself in the process. The throwaway daughter was finally in control of her own story. 6 months later, I stood at the podium of TechCrunch Disrupt, looking out at 3,000 entrepreneurs, investors, and dreamers. The keynote topic: When Setbacks Become Comebacks, Building Success from Family Trauma. 3 years ago, my parents made me homeless to pay for my sister's art school. They liquidated my college fund, sold our family home, and told me I was young enough to figure it out. A murmur rippled through the audience. In the front row, I spotted Alex, Mia, and Sarah, my chosen family, beaming with pride. What they didn't expect was that being thrown away would teach me what I was really worth. That being undervalued by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally would force me to find my own value. I clicked to the next slide. Optimize Gig's latest metrics: over 1 million active users, $50 million in additional earnings generated for gig workers, and a company valuation that had reached $200 million. But this isn't just a rags to riches story. It's about learning the difference between family that shares your DNA and family that shares your dreams. It's about understanding that forgiveness doesn't require forgetting, and that success gives you the power to choose who deserves access to your life. In the audience, I saw people nodding, some wiping away tears. These were stories that resonated. Stories of family dysfunction, of being overlooked, of building something beautiful from the ashes of abandonment. Today, I'm announcing the Phoenix Foundation, a scholarship and mentorship program for young adults who've been failed by their families but refuse to be defined by that failure. Because sometimes the greatest gift dysfunctional families give us is teaching us to build better ones. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes. Backstage, my phone buzzed with a text from Riley. Watching the live stream at work. So proud of you, big sister. See you at dinner Sunday. Sunday dinners had become our new tradition. Not the forced gatherings of childhood, but voluntary meetings where everyone contributed. Riley brought dessert she baked herself, Dad grilled vegetables from his small garden, and Mom made her famous lasagna. I brought wine and boundaries. Family therapy was brutal but necessary. Dr. Martinez, our counselor, had forced uncomfortable conversations about favoritism, financial abuse, and the long-term damage of conditional love. Mom had cried through most sessions. Dad had finally found his voice to disagree with her enabling patterns. Riley had learned to apologize without expecting immediate forgiveness. We weren't the same family we were before. We were something new, more honest, more careful with each other, more aware of the damage we were capable of inflicting. Some wounds had healed, others had simply scarred over. All of us had grown. "Jessica," Mom said as we cleared dishes that Sunday, "I know I've said this before, but I need to say it again. I'm sorry for what we did to you. I'm sorry it took nearly losing you forever to realize what we'd thrown away." "I know, Mom, and I'm sorry it took me getting successful enough to save you to find my way back to forgiveness." She hugged me, tentatively at first, then fiercely. "I love you. I love the woman you became despite us, not because of us." It was the most honest thing she'd ever said to me. Later that evening, Alex and I walked through Golden Gate Park, the same path where we'd had our first real conversation 3 years earlier. "How does it feel?" he asked. "Having it all. Success, recognition, family peace." "Complicated," I admitted. "I have everything I thought I wanted, but I'm different now. The girl who just wanted her parents' approval is gone. Sometimes I miss her simplicity." "Do you regret any of it? The estrangement, the struggle, the way it all played out?" I thought about this as we watched the sunset paint the San Francisco sky in shades of gold and pink. No, if they hadn't thrown me away, I never would have learned to catch myself. I never would have built something this meaningful. I never would have found people like you and Mia and Sarah who love me for who I am, not who they need me to be. And your family now? They earned their way back into my life by acknowledging what they'd done and working to be better. But the foundation is different now. Before, I loved them desperately, unconditionally, dangerously. Now, I love them carefully, with boundaries, with full awareness of what they're capable of. My phone buzzed with a message from a young woman in Detroit. Miss Thompson, I just got kicked out for refusing to give my college fund to my brother's wedding. Your Phoenix Foundation application opens tomorrow, right? Your story gives me hope that this isn't the end of my story. I showed Alex the message. This is why it matters, not the money or the recognition, but knowing that other people who've been thrown away realize they're not actually disposable. You know what I love most about your story? Alex said, pulling me close as the stars began to appear. What? You didn't just survive being undervalued. You built an empire that proves everyone's worth, including your own. 3 years ago, I was Jessica Thompson, the forgotten daughter working 3 jobs and sleeping on couches. Tonight, I was Jessica Thompson, CEO, keynote speaker, and living proof that being thrown away by the wrong people just means you haven't found your people yet. The throwaway daughter had built something that couldn't be thrown away. A legacy, a company that mattered, and most importantly, an unshakable knowledge of her own worth. Sometimes the greatest gift your family can give you is forcing you to build a better one. Mine just took the scenic route to teach me that lesson. But every mile of that difficult journey was worth it. Up next, we have 2 more incredible stories that are waiting for you. Just click the image you want to watch and it will take you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe. It would mean a lot.